chip. Oh, we don't get a copyright strike for that. The awesome Baby Metal Papaya. So another Trade Tuesday. I keep saying Telly Tuesday. Did too many Telly Tuesdays. I wish there was another day of the week that rhymed quite so well. So I've decided to cheat, at least temporarily. Oh no, I'm not going off here. With the trade thing, and sneakily swapping the Yamaha SG, which I've not decided what to do with yet, with myself, with my Yamaha RGX A2, which is the second one I've got because I really like the first one. That's the one that kind of looks like a spaceship. It's a sort of Ibanez SCs type thing, but it's white with light bulbs in it. Lights up telling you which pickup you're on. So I've sorted for that. So I think that's probably a sort of reasonable price-wise. You know, I'm not diddling myself really that much. And today someone's offered to swap the Yamaha for a Fender Stratocaster. This will be my first ever Fender Stratocaster. I do have a couple of Fenders, I have owned a couple of Fenders, but only two, one of them being a Teleacoustic, which is made in China, but does say Fender on the headstock, and the other one being a 77 or 78 Music Master bass, which I've had for many years. This one is a Japanese, early 90s I think. It doesn't look, it's got issues. The electrics don't work in it, and it's a photo flame finish one, but the photo flame has cracked and looks pretty rubbish, so it might be I'm not really sure what to do with it yet. I've only seen one picture of it, so I'm just going into Glasgow just now. I'm in the just going over the Kingston Bridge there. I've been pulling up. The reason I'm filming this just now is because we're about to drive past the Glasgow Academy, which is the O2 Academy, which is a music venue where I've seen some bands. I don't particularly like this venue. In fact, I don't like it at all. I'm trying to think who I've seen there. I saw Cradle of Filth there. They were awesome. I saw the Hoosiers. Remember them a couple of years ago? They had a couple of radio hits, I think. They were alright. Yeah, so I saw the original Status Quo, as in the four of them with Lancaster on bass, and they were supported by Wilco Johnson, and that was Wilco Johnson. He had a tumour when he thought he was going to die, and his stomach kind of looked like he was having a baby. This was about a week before. He'd been told by lots of people that it was inoperable. He was just he was just going to gig till he dropped, and then about a week after the gig, he cancelled the whole tour because some doctor somewhere had said, "I can sort that," and then he's still going strong. It's great. I saw him a couple of years later. That's where my profile picture is on Facebook. You see him. I met him after the gig. We hung about outside. I took my guitar that's shaped like a sword, and my Claymore guitar, and because he's Cyril Payne in Game of Thrones, I got him to stage cutting my head off with my sword-shaped guitar. Unfortunately, he made a silly face. He didn't make his 1,000-yard stare scary face, which I was hoping he did, but I wasn't going to complain. Yeah, I was seeing there. Manowar. I think we might be getting on to just that's about all the gigs. It's kind of there's two O2s. There used to be one called you know, I can't remember what it's called. This is the Academy, the O2 Cinema. Oh God, how can I not remember the best venue in Glasgow? It used to be the old MGM Cinema, and it was fantastic. It was ABC. It was called. Go to ABC. It was ABC Cinema probably. That was fantastic. I've actually just got stuck in lights, so I'm going to have to talk for another 2 minutes so we can actually see this place. It's got a kebab shop outside it, but it's kind of, even though it doesn't really seem that far away, it always seems to take ages to get to it. It's only just over the Clyde, and I don't know, half a mile walk or something like that, so it's actually closer to like the bus and the train than what the Barras is. But the Barras, because you're walking along, you know, streets with shops and stuff on them, it kind of doesn't feel that far, whereas in this one you kind of leave the city and then you're out in the middle of nowhere. And it's also it's a cinema. It's got like a cool sort of gradiated floor, but there's something about it. It's not as good as the ABC was. when gigs ever come back. So we've had the lockdown lifted now, so I'm actually allowed to go out and about. Yeah, so my first Fender. I'm not really sure what to expect from it. As I said, the photo flame finish is it's cracked and chipped, and it looks pretty bad. I don't think it's repairable. I think it might be a case of having to, just paint the whole guitar a colour, probably white if I was going to go for it. It's got like a white scratch plate and stuff like that. And the guy said the electrics did work, and then he fixed them, and then they didn't work. So there shouldn't be much in that. Maybe do a video with that. Yeah, okay, so I'll maybe catch the Academy on the way back. Looks like I'm going to be stuck in traffic for 5 minutes here. Rock on. Hey, I've finally got through the roadworks. There's the Academy there. You can't actually see it because I'm behind a van. I'll show you. That's it there. Once those lights go to green, I'll be able to drive past the front of it. I'll show you if I remember. Oh, there we go. So if I do that, you can see the Glasgow O2 Academy. See what I mean? It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. That's it there. I'm actually banned from it, from the entire O2 chain, and have been for years, because at Manowar I took a wee recording thing and recorded the audio for it. I mean, it was a crowd recording thing, so it was awful. But they chucked me out and said, "Did you buy your ticket online?" And I said, "Oh yeah." Right. So they kept my ticket and then said, "Right, we're going to look it up, and you won't be able to buy any more tickets." And obviously knowing fine well that, well, I knew fine well that what I did was actually I bought the ticket at the door outside, so they had no reference to who I was. So, get it up you. I've been to a few gigs at the O2 since then, and not had any problems. Right, I think I've got to go left here. Cool, see you in a minute. Cancel a video the other night because it was too dark. But yeah, so that's me got the photo flame Strat. It's very nice. Not working just now. It plays really well though. Yeah, so that was 2 o'clock I met the guy, and that's now nearly 6 o'clock. He was a bit of a talker, lovely guy. When I was talking to him last night, he mentioned, I said I've never actually had an actual Fender. I do have a Squire Bullet, which I think is the same factory, Fuji Gen one. He was like, "Oh, can you send me a wee picture of that, please?" So I sent him a picture. He used to have one when he was 15 or 16 or something like that, and the story was his dad made him trade it in for a real Strat, and he always regretted it, man. And so I took it over just to show him, and man, you wanted to see his face when I gave him a shot of it, man. He was just totally like a kid at Christmas. He was absolutely in his own wee world. It was a real joy to see. It kind of made my week actually. It was just someone enjoying a guitar just so much. Even though the switch in it's burst, I'm going to order another one. So it was only working on the bridge pickup, but that happened to be the pickup that it was on when he picked it up, and it was just like seeing him just pure dreaming away. It was like, it reminded me of have you ever seen the film Ratatouille? It's like a cartoon thing about a rat who's a chef, and at the end they're trying to impress this food critic guy, and they give him ratatouille, which is like I don't know what even ratatouille is made of, tomatoes and stuff. And when the guy takes a mouthful of it, you see him going back to his childhood, like in a wee dream thing about him when he was a kid, and he hurt his knee when he was out playing, and his mum had given him some ratatouille, and it was just like, it was kind of that sort of vibe. It was awesome. Really quite happy about it, man. So yeah, so that's me heading back home now. I don't think I'll be able to do a video tonight unless I just put this one up. We're now getting I normally kind of try and make them go out at 7 o'clock. I've been pretty good with videos. I've normally managed to get one out every day, but I think taking a day off every now and again when something happens. I didn't want to leave the guy's house, man. It was so nice, chatting away. He was in a famous band, which again I felt really bad about not knowing. I can't even remember the name now. I'll put a link to them in the description of the video. But it's like, see, when people are in bands from Glasgow, and I just didn't listen to music from here. When I was growing up, I listened to Black Sabbath and Zeppelin and the Stones and stuff like that, even though everyone else was listening to current music. I didn't like any of that stuff. So I just don't know it. Same thing happens every time I'm in the Blitzkrieg Rock Shop, because the guy Tony who runs that is a lovely guy as well. That's quite a similar guy to this guy. He keep talking about bands that he knows and are in and stuff, and I don't even know them. Even ones that are sort of famous, I've kind of heard the name of, like Glass Vegas was one of them. I was like, yeah, I've heard that name. I had no idea where. And he actually sent me a picture of one of the main guy from Glass Vegas playing a Buckycaster. So I'm going to make him one. I didn't know the band at all. I googled them and they've got like the #1 album and stuff. That'd be proper fame. So might get somebody famous playing a Buckycaster at some point. Anyway, so that was just a wee. I know it's probably too dark to show me. This is centre town. That's me just getting back onto. Just coming back onto the motorway. There's no easy way to get on the motorway from the south station. Centre of town. And then that was really it. So I shall see you rock on later. I'd imagine if I'm being quite clever, this will be zipping back to me in my room playing the Photoflame Strat on next Tuesday. It's funny, this time travel thing's kind of messing me up a bit. I keep talking about things in videos that I've not done yet, or things that I've changed my mind about in the future, you know, so I'll try not to talk too much about this just now. Rock on. Hey, I'm back, just to show you this before anything happens to it. This is my first ever Fender Stratocaster. As you can see, it's got the Photoflame finish, got a couple of a few cracky denty bits. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do with that yet. I'm thinking, to be honest, to start with, what I'm going to try and do is just colour it in with pen. Like, see if it was just black. I think that would look fine. It looks like quite a nice guitar. The volume control just spins. In fact, it's not turning at all now. So basically the volume control's goosed. So I haven't actually seen it yet. It plays really well, not plugged in. I don't know what it's going to sound like plugged in. Well, it sounds like nothing plugged in because it doesn't work. So tonight I'll probably be, didn't do a video tonight, I did it at the guy's house for like 4 hours or something like that, talking away. Yeah, so Mad Malco's first ever Fender. Well, I do have the Music Master bass and a Fender Teleacoustic. But the first Fender guitar was Fender electric guitar. Rock on, I'll see you next week when this is done. Hey Tuesday! It's Tuesday, and this is me, my first ever Fender Stratocaster. I went and picked this up last week and did a wee bit of a swappy deal thing with it. I'm not going to do a summary of what I've done with the Trade Tuesday so far yet. I'm not sure how finished it is or what's going on. Yeah, so I did a wee video of this when I came back, just showing you what the Photoflame finish. As you can see, it looks like a very expensive type of wood. You know, like sort of, you know, like your quilted veneer type thing. But it's actually a photo. And reading up about it a little bit, this guitar is 94 or 95, the serial number says, it kind of fits in. And it was actually a special thing they did with Fujifilm. So this is like a Fuji Gen built guitar with a Fujifilm coating on it. The main difference is, I don't know if you can really see it. See when you look at when you've got like a quilted top, and I've got a few guitars with a quilted top. I don't actually have one sitting about that you can see just now. I don't know if it would, but normally if you get the light right on it, you get like this mad grain, you know, but you've got to hold it at a certain angle. Whereas this one, because it's a photo, it's always at the desired angle. So whatever, you know, whatever angle you put it at, it still looks like it's reflecting the way the way it normally does, the way a normal guitar does, which is kind of bizarre looking. So in every photo you see of one of these, it always looks like they've totally, you know, got the light exactly right, but that's just because it's a photo. As I said, it's quite badly cracked, and I did, as I said in the video, I just painted in these gaps, these cracks black. This one you can't see, well, enough to worry about it. This one, I'm thinking, when I'm playing the guitar, I'm kind of covering it up. It kind of looks like someone's left a wee bit of black tape on it. What I used for this, which is stuff I've never used before. I got a set of oh, where is it? There. In Home Bargains, if you're in UK, you get this stuff which I used to use at work. You buy a set of pens called furniture touch-up markers, and you basically get like that one's maple and oak. They're basically brown felt tip pens. So I've used this a few times. Like, see if you've got like a guitar that's got a chip out the front, and it's like you can just sometimes get away with just colouring it in with pen. It doesn't make it look completely invisible, but it means you don't notice it immediately. But in that, you also got these wee crayon things. Touch up filling sticks. I'd imagine that's German or something like that. So, like, and they're the same colours, you know, you get like maple and cherry and all this. So what these do is you can kind of scrape these into cracks and it fills the crack up. So that's what I did with these cracks. You can't really see the cracks anymore. I mean, you can see looking at it, you know, even in this quality, obviously you can see this because it's from space. But if I get the angle right, you can see there's a crack running down there. Well, that was white. And there's also a lot of cracks down here which have pretty much disappeared since I put that stuff in it. You can see on the back what the, well, maybe you can't, maybe it's just not a very good video. I haven't touched up the cracks in the back. If you look sort of round about, you can see them here, running down the outside. You know, it's all, this photo's expanded or contracted when the guitar hasn't. I've not filled in that gap yet. Yeah, so to be honest, I think it's going to be staying like this because I quite like it. Also, I think I might have to keep this guitar because I spend an awful lot of time slagging off Fenders and Gibsons because I like, you know, Washburns and Arias and stuff like that, and I don't know, countless number of times I've said, oh, it's just as good as a Fender Strat. So by actually owning a Fender Strat, I can have this on the wall next to it if I'm going to be slagging it off. There's a wee, I've had this discussion before with a few folk, and the general consensus to me seems to be that a real Fender Strat, which I was thinking, you know, a real Fender, it's an American one, but a lot of people, most people seem to judge like a Mexican one is a real Fender. So if a Mexican one's a real Fender, a Japanese one definitely is, because it's Fujigen. And there was a year, was it 1985 or something like that, where actually Fender didn't actually make any guitars in America because they were moving factories, so the only Fenders you could get were Japanese. I do actually have another Fujigen Strat up here, which I'll probably do a comparison video at some point. I'll restring them all and stuff like that. This one here is a 1988, so it's a few years older than that Fender Strat. As you see, it says Casio MIDI guitar on it. It's got extra stuff on it, but the actual rest of the guitar is all built by Fujigen, and it is basically there is a Strat you can buy from 1986, which is pretty much exactly this guitar, apart from it doesn't have the MIDI pickup and the MIDI computer stuff. It's got stuff in the back, and it's got a Fender shaped headstock. It doesn't say Casio on it. I think that was maybe their mistake. See, if it had been, if they, I don't know, just paid the extra licensing fee to actually, because they were making Fenders at the same time right next to it, so they should just have made it a Fender one, and then maybe it would have worked. It wouldn't have just disappeared, which it has. The Roland pickup, which actually that one's actually got a Roland. It's a Roland. The actual pickup is a Roland thing as well, but those guitars were hideously expensive. They were like 1,500 quid, something like that, in 1986. You know, when a Strat was like 500 quid, so they were not cheap. So the idea of having your already guitar you've already got, and then you can put the MIDI thing on separately, was a huge thing. I think it was maybe a couple of years after the Roland, because the first Roland's the one I've seen a picture of Jimmy Page. It's got like a big handle. Yeah, that looks totally like a spaceship. I think they're a wee bit after that, but at the same sort of time as you could get like the one you can still get, you know, where you get the thing that you stick on the front, which is like, just like a volume controller and output, and then the pickup you sort of hold on with Velcro. That sort of thing, where you could fit that to whatever guitar you wanted rather than being stuck with having to buy the Stratocaster. Yeah, so this one, the night I got it, I spent all night thinking it was a fake. I've since I find out that it's not a fake. It's too difficult to fake to be worth it. You know, I mean, if it was like a 1955 American one, it's worthwhile putting quite a lot of effort in to make a fake one if that's what you're going to try and do. Whereas it's not really any point in doing one of these. They're not really that highly looked upon, I don't think. Yeah, so I said 94, 95, according to the serial number, says made in Japan on the back, which I thought looked fake. But actually, there's one on Reverb. I found one on Reverb that's basically it looks exactly the same as this.
and that's what it's sitting there. And it's got the same sort of tuners, the ones with the sort of slot head on it. See, I've had to do the problems that all Strat players have, which I've never. I've seen it videos on it, stuff like that. I never realised, like, got an elastic band here, because see the G string. Is it the G string? When you hit an open G, that this distance here is exactly the same as a harmonic pitch resonance. So whenever you hit a G and then mute it, this is just going beep. It's like an octave or a couple octaves higher. G just rings, which is a Fender thing. Which although I've had lots of Strat copies, I think this just has to be a couple of millimeters this way or a couple of millimeters that way, and it doesn't do that. But when they've actually copied a real Fender, it's just a problem. Also, the other thing is the springs on the back didn't half vibrate. It was the same thing when you went and then muted it, would just be so I've had to wedge foam in the back, which I've never really noticed before. Maybe it's just because of the sound of the guitar. The neck is, which it wasn't until I'd actually take it to bits and use my radius gauges things. I don't know why I did that. It's a 7 1/4 inch radius, so it's like the Squier Bullet, which is the first thing I thought when I played that one. I was like, whoa, it's got like a curved fretboard. This is awesome. I've never had one of these. And this one, it doesn't feel it, but when you actually put the radius gauge on it, it is. I think maybe it's just it's a setup thing. I had to do a bit of work on the nut. The nut was too high. It's obviously a replacement at some point. The bridge, which I also thought was fake, see, because it's got like a. If you look at the block, it's like it's one of those wee tiny pot metal things. I thought, well, okay, so the bridge has been changed, but I took it out to fix it up, and for some reason the block had actually been half unscrewed from the top, so it was kind of rattling, and then I noticed in the back the thing weighed a ton, so whatever it's made of, it's not that pot metal stuff, it's pure heavy duty heavy metal, and it's actually got Fujigen stamped on it, so it is the original bridge. Unfortunately, I found out last night when I found a tremolo arm that fitted in the hole. There's a tremolo arm already in the hole that's been snapped off, so I'm going to have to. I had a wee go at trying to sort of drill it, and then some of my pals suggesting super gluing a screwdriver into the hole and trying to unscrew it. I've not yet. I'll get round to that. I'm not really that bothered. The other Strat guitars I've got have trems. I don't really use them, so it's not the end of the world. So the scratch plate I think is original, more because it's got the wee Duke here, because this is like a. It's like a 50s reissue or something like that, or a 60s reissue, so the truss rod isn't easy to get one up here. You have to take the neck off and go in here on it. And the pots, I mean, maybe some of you will know. I'm pretty sure the pot, what I thought was it's just someone's putting a cheap scratch plate, but to me, that looks like a standard day modern Chinese 5-way switch, GAE written on it. And these pots are not what I would expect in it. And also these pickups, which the ones with the ceramic magnets in the back, I didn't think they could possibly be the original ones. But I've since actually found there's a guy on eBay or on Facebook Marketplace selling a set of, I think they're 2,000 or something like that, Japanese pickups out of Japanese Fender, and they have got the bar magnets on it. So I'm not really that sure. Because I had the guitar in bits anyway, I put all the most expensive pickups I could find in it. So in here we've got a DiMarzio DP something, which is like a stacked single coil. I got that from my pal Wayne, who I wired an Aria Mega Metal for him about a couple of years ago. And I was looking at the lab here, this has got a fancy pickup in the neck. And it's like, it just looks like a white strap pickup. And he's like, well, you just keep that, put a good one in. So I kept it, then here we go 2 years later and I've actually found somewhere to put it. So that's a DiMarzio. This is a Fender lace sensor, which I think might be worth quite a lot of money, because when these came out, I do remember, I wasn't about at the time, but I've read about that the only way you could get the lace sensor pickups was to buy the Fender Strat that had them in it. Was it a Strat Plus or a Strat Premium or a Strat Deluxe or something? You couldn't actually buy the pickups separately. And then there was a big legal battle over with Don Lace, because I had Don Lace pickups before, because he wanted to sell these pickups because everyone was asking him for them, but he couldn't because he'd done a deal with Fender, blah blah blah. So this is actually, and it's got gold writing on it, whatever that means, but it actually says Fender Lace sensor on it, so this might be quite a rare pickup. This was also in an Aria Pro that I bought one called a rock device. It was like an HH guitar, but it had a lace sensor in the humbucker ring, and someone had made like a plastic ring to take a single coil. And I'm never really that happy about that being in that guitar. It should have just been 2 humbuckers. I think the reason they did it is because the bridge pickup in that guitar is a white covered Scholler pickup, so they wanted a white one, and so it was never going anywhere. I was never going to keep that in there. And the last pickup is a Fender from 1974 Strat pickup. It's got like this sort of fibre back and all that, which I've had in my parts box for years and never really thought of found anything to do. So at least I've got rid of 3 expensive pickups, or I've put them in this guitar for just now. Also, I think I put push-pull pots in somebody's guitar in the last 5 years, and I took out CTS pots and offered them back, and I said, you know, if they ever wanted them, they would have got back to me by now. So they're in this. So it's got CTS pots. The switch is a USA Switchcraft one, which I think might be very old because it's actually got like, what do you call it? Not Phillips head screws. It's like slop screws on it. That could just be the screws. So you know, it's all top of the range stuff. That was kind of why I wanted to have, you know, to try and make it as much like a real Strat as possible. Whether a Japanese one is real or not, can be different. So I'm not going to do a proper full jam on it. I'll just play around with it a little bit. Very thin and jangly sounding. Sounds very like that Antoria Telecaster actually. So that's a DiMarzio. And for the wiring, I decided, seeing as it's my first real Strat, it's going to get wired as standard. So it's a tone for the neck pickup, a tone for the mid pickup, and no tone for the bridge. And no Gilmore switches or any fancy stuff, which I might do later. I don't know. I get the impression I'm going to be in and out of this guitar a few times over the next while I tweak it. I'm still not 100% there with the tweaking of it. There's a wee bit of fret dinkage below the cowboy chords. I get the impression this guitar was owned by somebody who didn't really play, or was maybe just learning. You know, it's like, and they went and blew £500 on a Fender Strat, which you really shouldn't do when you're learning to play. So it's like kind of a bit worn down in the cowboy chords. But I don't. It's not bad. It's more a look thing. The rest of the frets are all level and stuff like that, so it plays all right. So position 2, which is the lace sensor, and the DiMarzio. Middle pickup, then the lace sensor. And then lace sensor and the Fender pickup. And then Fender pickup. Sounds maybe a little bit more. It sounded basically like what I wanted it to sound like. It's like I kind of don't want it to compete with the Ibanez Blazer, but it's got like the super hot pickups. It's like in the brochure, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. It's currently the most powerful single coil pickups you can get anywhere in the world, is what the advert said, from 1982 or 1983. So it's got, like, you know, mega hot output. So I'm thinking that's kind of like a turbocharged Strat. I kind of want one that sounds like a 50s one. So it's kind of ticking all the boxes. You know, it's like it's really thin and wiry and stratty sounding. Pedal on. Here, kind of seems to come alive in it. So I will do a video probably just during this week actually of a sort of more standy-uppy, jammy version of this guitar. So I don't know, in the comments, is a Japanese Strat from '94. It's vintage because it's only got to be 20 years old to be classed as vintage. So it's a vintage Strat. It's also got the 50s sort of neck, you know, the radiused fingerboard. It's got like sort of low output pickups. Is it a real Strat? It is a Fender Strat, I suppose you could argue, but so I think really as a sort of validator, I do have a Gibson SG, so I should really have a Fender Strat. And the whole point of this trade thing was I was going to try and get a Gibson Les Paul so that I could hang it on the wall and slag it off and say all the Japanese guitars are better than it. So kind of might be doing a bit of that with this, you know, for that reason. But I do actually quite like it. It doesn't have everything. Ideally, I prefer a maple neck on a Fender if at all possible, but I've got the Squire Bullet for that. So in some ways, if this had been a maple neck, I would maybe not be wanting to keep the Squire Bullet. Actually, the guy who I mentioned earlier on, he wanted that Squire Bullet. He offered me so much money for it. I took it over, and as I said, you know, after seeing as he was so into it, if it had been, he told me before I'd sent him a picture, is that Pure, I used to have it, is it black and white? I used to have a black and white one when I was 15, Pure loved it. And it was like, because mine's the tobacco one, I thought, right, it's not the same guitar, so I'm not going to have to sell it back to him. You know, because obviously if it had been in Glasgow when I bought mine, you know, there's a chance it was exactly the same guitar, in which case I would have had to sell it to him. But he made the mistake of telling me that it was a black one he had, so this one definitely wasn't black. Yeah, I mean, he offered me a Gretsch worth £700 for it. I've already said before I brought it over, so I might I'll bring the Bullet over just so you can get a shot of it, but I'm not selling it in capital letters. You know, it's like, he didn't stop him trying. Fair enough, trying, but he was trying to get that off me for about half an hour. Kept offering me stuff for it. It's like, I'll give you an amp and all. I'm like, no, I need to. My way out was I need to fix it because I need to replace the switch, because the switch on it, I tried to clean it. It worked okay for a couple of days, then just got scratchy again, and I found you can actually buy the exact same switch from eBay. It even says, I can't remember, it's M30 with a sticker that says Made in Japan on it, which is exactly what the one that's in the Squire Bullet says. So it's the same switch, so I'll put that in, and then it'll just be fully working. And I actually nearly bought Strat pickups last night from a Maxon, a Greco, and I got outbid at the last minute, which is because I was thinking of this. I mean, I do quite like this. I'm not sure the lace sensor it just looks odd. I think if everyone's gonna, I suppose any Strato, any guitar nut's gonna look at it and go, oh, is that a lace sensor? And it's like, yeah, it is. So there is that. Whereas if it was just another type of pickup that didn't have pole pieces on it, you would be forever asked, oh, is that a lace sensor? No, it just looks like one, but so at least it is one for that question comes in. But I really just wanted ones that worked. When I'm getting into using the tone controls, it doesn't actually seem to be that bright today, but when I was playing this, if you play this after like a humbucker guitar or a normal guitar, it's really, really thin and twangy, which I suppose is what a Strat does. You know, it's just like all the Strats I've got are normally humbucker loaded, and or the one that's got the super powerful pickups in it, you know, they're kind of not a real Strat, if you know what I mean. And it's amazing, I wasn't really that impressed with it was playing, even though I noticed actually when I was checking this video earlier on, I was saying, oh, it plays really well. It really didn't. It played really well, but felt almost identical to I had a blue, which I said was purpley blue, like Squire, it was Affinity or something like that. It kind of played like that. And it's that's the thing when you get like a goods guitar. A lot of people have guitars like this that have never been set up, you know, and it plays about 10% of its potential. That was what this was like. So basically, when this had, you know, the bridge not connected properly, the high nut and old strings on it, it played like what you can get like a modern, a well set up Squire can do. It's only when you start adjusting things you suddenly go, oh, hold on, you know, because if you've got like a Squire that's as badly set up as this, it sounds awful. Whereas this, because it was quite good to start with, well, assuming the pickups, I don't know about the pickups. To me, it just looks like they've been, someone's bought a replacement set. You know, they've maybe bought a loaded scratch plate. You know, so they didn't have to wire it. They bought a loaded scratch plate and they've just swapped it onto this scratch plate, and then that's it. So I don't know whatever happened to the original pickups. I suppose maybe I'd be sort of interested in the original pickups. I don't really know. It depends if I'm going to sell this. I can't really sell it with these pickups in it, you know. So I'll see what happens. So it's kind of getting there with towards the end of season 1 or series 1 of Trade Tuesday. Currently, I'm sitting with this. I did mention earlier on I did a swap. I'll pick up 2 guitars here. Maybe I'll let this run a wee bit longer. I'm going to try and cut it down. So there's the SG, which I've now put. I've actually just ordered. Well, not ordered. I did a swap with a guy, with John, for the original knobs. He took the Warman pickups back, which it's not a good deal, but hey, it's like the guy. I did a really good deal the rest of the way. And to be fair, when I actually agreed to the swap, this had the Warmans in it, and there was no mention of the original pickups. And it wasn't until after we were sort of arranging to go and arranged to go and meet him. So that pure, oh, I wish I had the original pickups. Is that pure? Oh, I've got them. You can have them if you want. This pure. So I've given him the Warmans back in exchange for the original knobs. And when I said I did a sort of sneaky swap thing, it's kind of because I didn't want the thing to end. But I did have a guitar up for sale, which was one of these. This is what I swapped for the Fender. This is my one though. I bought one of these. It weighs nothing. That's why I can hold it with one hand. But this one has got lights in it telling you what's going on, and I put an extra switch in it. So normally you've got, if I pull this up, normally it's like this, and you've got like a 3-way rotary switch which gives you a green light for the neck, both lights for both pickups, and blue light for the bridge pickup. I put a push-pull coil splitter on it. This doesn't normally have a coil splitter, so when you put it into humbucker mode, this lights up in this guitar orange, but in the other one that I bought, the one that I traded, it lights up red. I think I might have actually put the light bulb in this side rather than the top, or is it on the bottom of the other one? But I mean, these are fantastic guitars if you never get a hold of one. So I had this up for sale for a week or something like that, and I bought the second one to put this switch in, because very often the lights don't work, and I figured I really enjoyed that, so I kind of wanted to sell it, but I wanted to keep my one, so I've kept mine, and I've got another one. So, and I don't think that was too ridiculous a swap. I think price wise they're kind of not a million miles apart, so it's not like I was, you know, swapping a £500 guitar for a £100 guitar. They're both kind of the 250, 300 type sort of in the conditions they're in, I think. So that's a wee bit sneaky, but I do kind of like that guitar. And then now I've got a Fender Strat as well. So now I'm down to, I said I wasn't going to do a sum up. I've still got the Variax, which actually, to be fair, I haven't actually played since last week when I did a video. I really like that as well, so it might be the end of it. I don't know. But if it does come, if that is the end of it, then I'm due the next YouTube check, which I missed. I'm not mentioning how much money I'm getting because it's, I don't want to, but there's a threshold you have to meet in a month to get a payment, and the first payment was it took 2 months to get to my threshold, and then I got the money and I bought the Ibanez Blazer and the laser. So that was the first trade one, which didn't really work out as a trade thing. I had already thought of the trade idea to get like guitars I really wanted, you know, free from YouTube, from you guys watching these adverts I keep putting in, and I just got 2 guitars I wanted with the money without having to do any trading. And then the second payment took another 2 months to come through, and that was when I started off with the the vintage bass and Yamaha Pacifica, even though there was a few other false starts that I bought kind of on my own, kind of picked and chose a little bit. And last month I almost made the payment threshold. In 1 month I was like £1.50 off of that, so I didn't get a payment. So it was like 2 months to get the first payment, 2 months to get the second payment, and very nearly a month to get the third payment. So now it's coming up on the 22nd. I've got like a sort of double payment sort of thing, so I should be able to have a bit to start up another tradie thing. It's kind of weird because we're kind of in the sort of price range that I'm kind of topped out at anyway from what I know about and what I'm used to. So it's like a kind of going beyond my comfort zone a little bit. Once you start getting up to sort of, you know, once you get up to sort of 500, 600 quid, it's like kind of, and I'm not really that likely to buy a guitar for 500 or 600 quid. So so I don't really look them up. So I don't really know that much about them, and I'm, you know, it's like picking up all these bargains and stuff like that because I know how to buy a guitar for like 50 quid that's really good. No, this one wasn't 50 quid, but you know, there's certain, you know, things to look for. And same with the sort of Japanese, the more obscure Japanese, well, when I say obscure, I mean the ones that nobody thinks are good. You know, it's like you do get Tokais and Grecos and Orvals and, well, Yamaha SGs that everyone knows are pure amazing, therefore they're really expensive. That's kind of why I never had an SG before, whereas the Aria Pros, the West Tones, people sort of remember them but don't really remember them being very good, so you can pick them up, nobody knows what they are, you can pick them up really cheap. So rock on, half an hour talking here, that's fine. I think it was about half an hour video, so about an hour long. Trade Tuesday, so I'll do a video for this. I'm going to be playing this all afternoon, I might actually just do it this afternoon, get a wee jam going with it. Rock on! Oh, and thanks so much for the 1,500 subs. I put a video out the other day, and I was getting all these compliments. I'm not good at taking compliments, but thanks so much for your kind words and everything. It's love you all, fantastic. Love doing this. It's really nice, and to be honest, I'm actually getting free guitars. So cheers you lot for the Fender Strat and the gift. Well, a Gibson SG swap for one of mine. The Yamaha SG swap for one of mine, so I don't know how that fits into to do it. I will have to do some sort of video where I'm kind of sort of summarise it all up once I've finally finished this. Maybe that's next Tuesday. Rock on.